Well, what kind of safeguards can you have? Well, first is that you could gather the data on these sensitive, that identify sensitive population groups in sample surveys rather than in full count efforts like censuses or population registers. In other words, you do a survey, you can get for many purposes, not all the purposes, but many of the purposes you need for statistical analysis for the kind of uses I was talking about at the beginning, and you avoid any of the risks that I was referring to. It's like when you're boiling potatoes. You don't eat all the potatoes to find out whether they're done. You stick a fork in one, does it seem done? You try another because maybe that potato was in one. Or peas, boiling peas, steaming peas, whatever. It's the same thing. We don't have to do everything to find out about something. We select a part. Now, when the cost of the collection is high, as it is in a survey, trying to get data for a whole country, you want to use a method of selection that allows you to scientifically understand what the chances are that the result you got was possibly misleading. And so there are good ways of drawing samples, there's scientific expertise in sampling, and that's what you're trying to do, to choose a sample that's not just any old group, but one that's through a well-defined scientific procedure. The government can't generate a list of everybody. They're only, and for many purposes, you don't need such a large sample. Another way is that after the data have been tabulated, results obtained, the analyses you wanted done, you can in effect get rid of the nominal data, the data that permits identifying individuals. Another way is that you take the records and you might even make them available publicly, but you remove all identifying materials. Sometimes in certain complex studies where you're going back to the same family again and again, or same person, you might send a file that links the identification and the data to another country to safeguard, and that's what was done in a survey of drugs and sexual behavior in among high school students, which is clearly a very sensitive issue, and it was a longitudinal survey in that you went back to the same group in the sample several times over several years to see what happened over time. Well, and for that you needed to save the identifying information. You need to be able to follow the people, but to ensure that a district attorney who wants to make a name for him or herself doesn't misuse that information by separating the name data from the actual results of who said what, and you separate those two, and those two files of information can be linked by a third file, which has sort of the code for saying that person 7 relates to data cell 57. That's in a third file, and that third file is sent to another country. And that has been used successfully to help protect misuse of data.